A quick disclaimer before we start the video. This drama that I'm going to talk about has since gone down and has already been debunked by many people, including myself. Please do not harass any party mentioned in this video. This includes the X's, Maverick Productions, Mamamax, Craig Beckett, and Volpazera. This is my very first YouTube video, so expect it to be not of the greatest quality, with some mistakes. With that being said, please enjoy the video. Throughout history, we have been taught to believe all victims when they come out with their stories of abuse, harassment, or otherwise. Because why wouldn't we believe them? If we didn't, then we would be cast out, shamed by others for daring to deny the victim's reality. But what if I told you a story which completely contradicts the unspoken rule to believe all victims? A story about a group of women who came together to bring down the same man, all claiming to be victims of his, with an air of self-righteousness. And what if I told you that their stories, testimonies, and their claims to their friends and family was all a lie? Welcome to the hellscape. April 14th of 2022. A Twitter user going by the handle Volpazera releases a Twitter thread out of concern for their best friend, Paulina. The thread included screenshots from her Instagram story on her account @FondantPaulina, which claimed that her ex, a YouTuber going by the handle Mamamax, was a stalker, abuser, doxer, and a cheater, among other things. Within a day or two after the release of this thread, a commentary video would be made by the channel Badwick Productions, debating on whether or not these allegations were true. Spoiler warning, they're not true. This was how I first got introduced to the drama, and this video has since been taken down by the channel and replaced with a follow-up video. Similar to my colleagues, I was torn when I first saw this. But why was I torn? Not only am I an advocate for victims of grooming, harassment, assault, and abuse, but I'm also a victim myself of these things, and a fan of Mamamax's work. I wanted to believe these women in the beginning. I myself knew what it felt like to feel as if no one was listening. But of course, I got intrigued. Lucy was the first girl I found through Badwick's video, so naturally, I focused on her first. She went on to Twitter to claim that Mamamax had sent packages to her house, that he had restraining orders against him, had multiple victims of his who had also been assaulted, had groomed Lucy when she was 17, and that he had mastered YouTube's search engine to block out any videos against him. For context, Mamamax would release a video with over 4 months of time before the next one was released, give or take. This is his timeline in which he releases his videos. Something didn't feel right to me, and it was then that I decided to start my Twitter thread. I reached out to Lucy, asking her for any evidence she had against Mamamax so that I could include it in my thread. She then replied back to me, claiming that she would make a video on these allegations, and that I should wait. And that's when the dissension began. Time and time again, I asked her for proof to support her story, but she wouldn't budge. So I went in deeper, looking for the evidence myself. And that's when I saw it. The smoking gun. Or should I say, smoking guns? It was becoming clear that Lucy couldn't keep her story straight, as the age she claimed Mamamax to be when he groomed her fluctuated faster than my grade point average in high school, jumping from 21 to 24 in the span of just a few tweets. At this point, Lucy and I had heated arguments over her not providing evidence and trying to force others to believe her story, including me. It was then that I was called a clout chaser and blocked from her account entirely. I was tired, drained. I felt defeated, ending the thread the next morning with my final thoughts. My mind and body needed a break, so I caved in and took it. There was radio silence for days, and those days felt like weeks. And then Craig Beckett. He would publish a passionate, objective video on the situation as it was, and called it out for what it was. petty bullshit. All of his links, including his Twitter, Discord server, video on Mamamax, his interview with him, and the compiled evidence-filled Google Drive will be linked down below. I highly suggest for you to go through all of this Google Drive and Craig Beckett's video if you want to gain a general understanding of the situation. This drive includes testimonies from people of close relations to Max and evidence folders on Paulina, Olivia, and Lucy. 3 names, same lies. The most detailed and arguably the most researched is the folder on Paulina. Therefore, we'll cover her folder first. Paulina had caused the most controversy within Mamamax's community, according to the drive and its namesake folder. Not only was she the ire of many people who knew her personally and within the community, but she was the initial ex who lived the first match. This time. More on that later. There are multiple pieces of evidence against Paulina, and each section had its own mini-folder. This includes evidence of her doxing Max on Kiwi farms, manipulating the situation to her benefit, and being an awful person to those around her. Other pieces of evidence were pulled from her Instagram, in which Paulina explained how the Instagram story that she posted where she framed Mamamax was an emotional vent, and that he did not ever harm her physically or sexually. We can now briefly go over the shorter folders in the drive on Lucy and Olivia. Long story short, Lucy changed up her story nearly every time she told it, yet desperately wanted everyone to blindly believe her and the other girls' stories. Olivia had first came out on TikTok to make claims against Mamamax as well, and later on, it was revealed that this was not the first time that she had accused Max of these things. In fact, this was the 3rd time, according to Mamamax and his team. No, I didn't stutter. This is the 3rd time. After Craig's video was released, she took to Twitter to defend herself, but to no avail. For the sake of simplicity, I won't go over Olivia's TikTok video because her accusations against Max are pretty much the same as Paulina and Olivia. So, where do I stand after all this? From the tweet thread to Craig's video, my interview with Max and my good buddy Steve, and now this video. I strongly believe that Max did nothing to hurt these girls. To claim that both parties are to blame would be the same as to claim that both were to blame in the Depp versus Heard case this year. And we all know how that case went. With all that being said, thank you for putting your time aside to watch this video. Stay safe out there.